For every good thing, there must be something bad. We've talked about what's good with the Lord of the Rings trilogy, but now let's talk about some of the things that were bad about it. Stay tuned. Hey guys, Brent here for Geek for another exciting breakdown. This time, what is bad about the Lord of the Rings trilogy? If you're already subscribed to the channel, you know this is a series we've had going on so far. We've covered Rings of Power, we've covered The Hobbit, we've covered Lord of the Rings. If there are no suggestions in the comments below after this one, I'll be moving on to Star Wars and covering that for you guys for next week. But look, this trilogy, in my opinion, is damn near flawless. So covering this and making this to be even an interesting video, more difficult than one would think. You need someone who's very much, I want to say, anti-popularity on this one, because the Lord of the Rings trilogy, by popular vote, by the fan vote, by readers of the books, by everyone who believed in Tolkien and what he was about, realize these movies are as close as you're going to get to a shot-for-shot adaptation and the life of the book coming out in theatrical release to close to perfection. This is it. This is as close as we are going to get, folks. And ultimately, there's only a very few things that need to be addressed. And the two things that I want to mainly stress upon, because I need to keep things in order or I'll end up rambling here all day. First of all, we need to focus on what was omitted from the book or what was changed by Peter Jackson, because there were things that were changed that I did not agree with, and the things that were not brought up I did not agree with that needed to be touched upon. And second of all, we need to talk to you about the original casting for some of the characters in this, because damn, whoever's in charge of casting, you almost blew the film before we even got out the gate. Because if the actors that they wanted had gotten the part, these movies would not have delivered, and I guarantee that. But first, let's talk about the things in the book. The Holy Grail. You know, that thing you read to your kids at night. It's like, when are you going to read to your kids and teach them about the good book? Well, my favorite part in the good book is where the ring ends up in the fires of Mount Doom. This book is on the tippy top of many fans' fantasy lists, and Tolkien, for many good reasons, called the godfather of all modern fantasy. Makes perfect sense. So, adapting this book to a movie seems perfect. And yet, for you to write a movie about these books, but omit the section where the entire fellowship was the closest it ever was to failure, and not having it being in the movie, that's questionable. And obviously that comes into play when we haven't even reached Rivendell. They haven't even reached Bree. Pippin, Merry, Sam, and Frodo get captured by a Barrow-wight and ultimately are rescued by Tom Bombadil. And for those of you who've only watched the movies, first of all, the books are great. Would highly recommend, but not telling you what to do. However, a Barrow-wight is the damn near scariest thing in the entire Lord of the Rings. Yeah, I'm including that with the Ring Race. I'm including that with Sauron. I'm including that with Smeagol. I'm including it in that one scene where Bilbo looks absolutely messed up. Like he is your local crackhead at the drugstore. No. Scary. Barrow-wight, 100 times worse. A servant of the Ring Wraith. A powerful demon risen from the grave who can use magic and spells to paralyze you and take over you and your body. Yeah, doesn't sound like fun. Well, the Barrow-wight got all 4 members of the Fellowship trying to make their way to Bree, had them under complete control, and it was about to perform some evil ritual, the likes of which still creep me out when I read the books to this day, and was going to take over Frodo and his body, and it was going to be game, set, wrap. Insert Deus Ex Machina character of all time, Tom Bombadil. And for those who know who Tom Bombadil is, look, The dude is basically Jesus, but like somehow stronger. He literally held the ring like it was a child's play object, messed around with it, did not care with it, did not be concerned about it, was not tempted by it, thought it was a regular piece of jewelry for most part, but realized it was magical, but was not tempted, and then just gave the ring back like it was nothing. Completely oblivious to what was going on in the world, like, okay, if you're unaffected by this, why didn't you take it to Mordor? That's not what Tom Bombadil does. Tom Bombadil does what Tom Bombadil wants to do, and he served his purpose in the plot, and he was therefore left out and omitted from things. And we had like overall 14 or 15 hours in the extended editions, and the fact it was never attempted once, I'm gonna have to give you demerit for that one. And then we have another book change that needs to be very, very much addressed. We get all the way to LoTR. Frodo sees into the peering waters, for lack of a better term, and he sees the Shire on fire. And for those who want to watch the film, you're like, oh, wow, this is foreshadowing. This is literally like something that'll happen if he fails. This kind of help will motivate him, keep him on track. No, that's not what happened. That is literally what happened when he succeeded. He succeeds, the Shire still burns. You know why the Shire burns? Saruman. You know, the guy that was stabbed on the top of Isengard by Grima Wormtongue? Yeah, that didn't happen like that in the books. In the books, Saruman and Grima both escape from Treebeard and literally run away to the Shire because they blame the Shire folk for everything that's gone wrong with their plans. And they start bringing a whole bunch of evil, wicked, and corrupt men into the Shire, and they take full-on control, and the hobbits are slaves. That's what happens. Houses are burned, people's lives ruined, completely dark, terrible time. And completely omitted from the movies. When we see them return in the movies, nice little happy ending. Everyone's having a good time of it. And sure, Sam does find his happy ending and he becomes the mayor of the Shire 7 times over, has, I believe, at least 10 kids. Really made up for lost time on that one. I wonder if Frodo was his ring bearer. That'd be kind of funny at the whole thing. But ultimately, happy endings for all, not touched upon once. Grima still does kill Saruman, but at the same time, different place. I feel like if you're going to use Chekhov's gun as our analogy here, if I see the gun in Act 1, by the end of the play, it has to go off. If you show me the Shire on fire, I need to see it happen at some point in time. It didn't happen, so I got to give you demerit for that as well. And now, let's focus on the casting. Because, look, you nearly dropped the ball before we got going. Aragorn especially. Viggo Mortensen was the 5th choice. 5th. To be Aragorn. And now that you've seen the films, you're like, how in the world would this man be 5th? Well, let's just talk about the names here. The guy they really, really wanted, Nicolas Cage, to be Aragorn. And ultimately he passed on the role and he ended up getting divorced on the year The Fellowship of the Ring came out. And he said in several interviews over, he's like, if I took that part, things might have played out differently in my entire life. I believe you, but I'm still very happy with Viggo Mortensen. Their backup choice, because now they're starting to get a little desperate, Russell Crowe. You know how bad they wanted Russell Crowe? They offered him 10% of all profits from every film. That's $56 million. He still turned it down. They also offered it to Daniel Day-Lewis, who may or may not have been an incredible actor for the role because he is as method gets. He dives in each and every role, but as far as pulling off Aragorn, that's a tough call. But I mean, if you see Lincoln, you'd be like, this man can't act. We're not going to say otherwise. And then they ultimately had Stuart Townsend cast as well. But he was cast for basically all of 5 minutes before Peter Jackson was like, nope, call Viggo, we're going to fix this. And, well, bravo, you fixed it. Ultimately, we had another main character that almost was entirely different as well. You know, the Lady of LoTR? the figure of beauty and grace and splendor. She was almost the badass Xena warrior princess Lucy Lawless. Yeah, that TV show, Xena Warrior Princess, significantly ahead of its time. Yeah, she was almost Galadriel. But she got pregnant around the time, and ultimately pregnancy when you're stuck in New Zealand for 4 to 5 years kind of makes it difficult to make that happen with your significant other. So she passed on the role, and well, the rest is history. We got a very good ending there. And then the other big casting that almost completely dropped the ball on. There were two people that were ahead of Ian McKellen in the running for this character. The first one, and this was the big name one that they wanted, Sean Connery to play Gandalf. And you know what they offered this man? $4 million per movie, and you're like, well, that's pretty good. Plus, and here's the kicker here, a 15% profit share for each film. 10% was 56. 15, you're probably looking more like $70 million. So he basically ultimately passed on $82 million. That's an insane amount of money. And you want to know why he passed? He could not understand the script. It's a book that was adapted to a movie. I don't think it's complicated. I just think it's nuts that you can't understand the Lord of the Rings, but somehow you understood the dumpster fire that was the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. I'm just saying, Sean. I'm just saying. And their backup to him? Christopher Plummer. Ultimately, he was very old at the time of this for shooting for Lord of the Rings, and he decided he didn't want to spend 4 years in New Zealand, and he wanted to travel instead and do other projects, and he did so. And while he was ultimately worried about, dying within a short time span because he was already in his 70s around the time of shooting for that, I guess you missed out on the role for nothing. I hope all your other travels and stuff was successful. But if you had miscast Galadriel, Gandalf, or Aragorn, things could have been entirely different for this trilogy overall. There's also other rumors that were out there that R1 would have been Uma Thurman, and I'm just saying teenage me would have 100% not agreed with this whatsoever, because this movies came out 2001, 2003, 2004. I was very young at the time, but I think everyone can universally agree that Liv Tyler was absolutely gorgeous in this. And I was at an age range where it was still appropriate, so it's totally good. But Liv Tyler, yeah, I take her 10 times over Uma Thurman, even with the restrictions her father put on trying to get everything recorded properly. And then there was two other shaky rumors I found, but I don't have very little to confirm it, but I'm just going to bring it up just because. There was a rumor that Liam Neeson was going to play Boromir, and there was another rumor that Ethan Hawke was going to play Faramir, which I'm not very opposed to either, but at the same time, I don't understand why you would need that level of star power to pull this over, because at the time, it used a lot of no-names who provided an amazing movie and one of the greatest trilogies of all time. And for those of you that believe I am dumping on this movie and saying I dislike it, this is my favorite trilogy of all time. Finding something to talk about that I disliked about this film was painstaking, and honestly, I did not enjoy. But ultimately, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Be sure to hit that subscribe button if you did, made it all the way to the 14-minute mark by this point in time. If not, I will see you guys in the next video. Hope you guys all have a great day, and be careful with your fan casts. I'm just saying.